patuloy na nagbibigay serbisyo, pag-asa at saya. GMA Regional TV, kapuso ng bawat Pilipino. This is GMA Regional TV Weekend News.
Good evening. This is your GMA Regional TV Weekend News. The biggest, the latest as local news matters. Jasmine Gabriel Galban.
I am CJ Torida.
John Punsoy, broadcasting live from the GMA complex in Dagupan City.
This evening, we will also be joined by our counterparts from different regions. Ivy Hernando from GMA Regional TV Ilocos, Rain Palino from GMA Regional TV Bicol,
As well as Luan May Rondina from GMA Regional TV Balitang Bisdak, Zen Kilantang from GMA Regional TV 1 Western Visayas, and Argil Relator from GMA Regional TV 1 Mindanao. COVID-19 cases worldwide now more than 19.3 million. Meanwhile, DOH records 126,885 COVID-19 cases in the Philippines. Here's the report.
There are more than 9.3 million COVID-19 confirmed cases around the globe, with 11,737,927 recoveries and 721,324 deaths, as reported by the Johns Hopkins University and Medicine Coronavirus Resource Center. In the Philippines, according to the latest report from the Department of Health, there are already 126,885 confirmed cases reported, with 67,117 recoveries and 2,209 deaths. To date, Philippines has the most number of COVID-19 cases in Southeast Asia, followed by Indonesia and Singapore, according to the Johns Hopkins University and Medicine Coronavirus Resource Center. In North Central Luzon, there are 3,778 COVID-19 confirmed cases, with 1,679 recoveries and 134 deaths. According to the latest report from the DOH Center for Health Development, Region 1 now has 479 confirmed cases. Region 3 or Central Luzon with 2,942 COVID-19 cases. 357 confirmed cases are recorded in the Cordillera region. Current confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Bicol region is at 619 with 261 recoveries and 16 deaths. 209 of them are from Albay, 236 in Camarines Sur, 16 in Camarines Norte, 41 in Sorsogon, 21 in Catanduanes, and 96 in Masbate. In Western Visayas, COVID-19 cases increased to 1,839. Of these, 896 are active cases. 917 have already recovered, while death toll increased to 26.
The youngest casualty in Region 6 is a 7-year-old girl from Dumangas, Iloilo. The victim was brought to the hospital after she showed symptoms of the virus. She died before her positive results came out.
In Western Visayas, Aklan has 6 confirmed cases, 16 in Antique, 8 in Capiz, 109 in Iloilo Province, and 67 in Negros Occidental. Guimaras registered its first COVID-19 case with a 22-year-old man from Buena Vista Town. OFW repatriates and locally stranded individuals still record the most number of cases with 1,309. Meanwhile, Bacolod City recorded 163 confirmed cases, while COVID-19 cases in Iloilo City increased to 160. In Central Visayas, there are 17,097 COVID-19 positive cases, 4,676 of which are active. There are 11,446 recoveries and total death is 975. 3,705 cases are in Cebu Province, 113 in Negros Oriental, 104 in Bohol. Siquijor also registered its first COVID-19 case. In the metro cities, 9,182 cases of COVID-19 are in Cebu City, 1,825 of which are active. Of the 2,044 COVID cases in Mandaue City, 926 are active, while Lapu-Lapu City has 1,948 and 706 are active. In Eastern Visayas, according to DOH Region 8, a total of 1,201 COVID cases are recorded, 404 of which are active, with 794 recoveries and 3 deaths. Of the total COVID cases, 516 are from Leyte, 160 from Southern Leyte, 285 from Samar, 46 from Northern Samar, 10 from Eastern Samar, 45 from Biliran, 71 from Ormoc, and 68 from Tacloban City. In Mindanao, a total of 4,210 confirmed COVID-19 cases were reported. 2,637 have recovered, while the death toll is now at 104. Davao Region has recorded a total of 1,470 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 930 recoveries, and 55 deaths. Meanwhile, confirmed COVID-19 cases in northern Mindanao rose to 698, while 379 have already recovered and the number of deaths is at 12. Soxarjan has reported 316 confirmed cases, 184 recoveries, and 4 deaths. Zamboanga Peninsula has 903 confirmed COVID-19 cases in the region, with 547 recoveries. The death toll is at 22. Caraga has also recorded 336 confirmed cases, 224 recoveries, and 1 death. In Barm, there are a total of 487 confirmed COVID-19 cases. 373 have already recovered, while 10 died. I am John Punsoy for GMA Regional TV.
Cases of local transmission continue to rise in Western Visayas. Zen Kilantang has the details live. Zen.
CJ, due to the spike in COVID positive cases, some areas in Bacolod and Iloilo City have been placed on lockdown. The Iloilo City government ordered the strict lockdown of the Iloilo Fish Port Complex last Sunday evening after 2 fish brokers tested positive for coronavirus disease 2019. One of the 2 died last July 31, 2020.
I told the people from the fishing port, they have to present to me list of protocol, no? Hindi na kuya gusto nga ma-meeting ko po sa ila. Gusto ko may aral na sila. Kung hindi sila maka-come up sa ila protocol, isigihon ko na yung lockdown dira sa fishing port.
Health authorities immediately conducted contact tracing and disinfection of the port. On Wednesday, 26 more COVID-19 infections were detected, prompting the local chief executive to extend the temporary closure of the fish port for another 3 days to avert the massive spread of the virus. As of August 7, there are 84 confirmed COVID-19 cases arising from among those who recently conducted business at the port complex. According to the City Health Office, they are planning to conduct mass testing in the area.
Swab sa bilog na fishing port, ang ginaproblema lang naman kay damo-damo tao. Hindi ba mabala mo sila mga tao sa bulot sa fishing port?
The Iloilo COVID team recommended the surgical lockdown of the barangays Rizal Palapala 1, Palapala 2, Tanza-Baybay, and North Baluarte due to the number of COVID-19 cases recorded in these areas. The Iloilo Terminal Market was also placed on a 72-hour lockdown to allow disinfection of the market's premises.
The Iloilo City government, together with the City Health Office, is continuing its efforts to curb the transmission and to locate, isolate possible and suspected COVID-19 cases.
An additional 2 barangays were placed under lockdown yesterday after cases of local transmission increased. Meanwhile, as a requirement prior to the resumption of operations, the Fishport management has already submitted the proposed protocols to the city government. Minimum health standards such as the wearing of face masks and the practice of physical distancing will be strictly observed within their premises.
Procuring equipment, equipment, together with the donates ang aton fish brokers and fishing company. We will use that in the daily disinfection.
The LGU has also adjusted curfew hours to begin from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Gatherings such as wakes and fiestas are prohibited for the next 2 weeks. Among the LGUs in the region, Bacolod City has the most number of clustered cases. More than 20 barangays in the city were already sealed off. DOH-6 identified Estefania, Banago, and Tangub as the top 3 barangays with clustered cases. Sections of the Corazon Locsin Montelibano Memorial Regional Hospital, including their outpatient department, neonatal intensive care unit, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology were temporarily closed after 4 doctors and 2 nurses tested positive for COVID-19.
Ang Isaya clear ito ang community transmission. The other nurse, I think she got infected for taking care of that turns out to be a COVID positive na pasyente, pero na-label siya na low risk pagsulod, na miss ininamon nga classification niya.
In La Carlota City, the Don Salvador Benedicto Memorial District Hospital resumed operations last Thursday after being placed on lockdown when one of their anesthesiologists tested positive. The hospital's management is now implementing precautionary measures to ensure public safety. CJ, with continued rise in cases of COVID-19, the local government units in the region are doubling their efforts to address cases of local transmission. CJ?
Thank you, Zen Kilantang.
Residents from Region 1 cope with the new normal after thousands of workers lost their jobs. Ivy Hernando for the report.
John, the unemployment rate in Region 1 rose to 22.3% as businesses resorted to retrenchment and permanent closure due to the pandemic. The April 2020 report of the Philippine Statistics Authority revealed that the unemployment rate in Region 1 tripled to 22.3% compared to the 6% unemployment rate last year. Thousands of workers lost their jobs as companies laid off workers, with some permanently closing due to the pandemic.
Based on the trends of previous historical data natin, ito lang yung bumagsak ng todo. Ito yung pinaka-drastic na pagbaba niya.
Because of the implementation of skeleton work schedules, 4-day work weeks, and other alternative work schedules, the average number of work hours rendered by an employee went down to 35 hours per week compared to the normal 41 hours per week. Since this is now the new normal, industries may not find it easy to recover their losses.
Hanggat wala tayong vaccine, hindi siya mano-normalize, probably tataas man yung employment rate natin, hindi siya babalik pa ng sa normal na dati na 94.9 na employment rate natin.
Meanwhile, according to the job displacement report of Dole Region 1, the unemployment is mainly caused by retrenchment and permanently closure of establishments.
Because of the pandemic, yung economy natin medyo sarado. Sarado in the sense that not all businesses are open. Diba? So may slow down for demand of goods and services, demand for goods and services.
Yes, sir.
Kaya yung mga negosyante, para hindi malugi, nag-downsize sila. Karamihan sa kanila nag-downsize.
In Calasiao, Pangasinan, 70% of Puto Calasiao stalls have shut down. Since the implementation of community quarantine, sales of the famous Puto Calasiao drastically dropped, forcing most vendors to close their stalls, while some are keeping their business open, yet struggling to survive.
Napakahirap. Nag-aantay kami, pero kahit papano meron din pumapasok. Hindi kagaya dati.
Marami silang mga binabagsakan dyan sa Metro Manila or sa Baguio City. Medyo humina talaga, lalo nung bumalik sa MECQ kasi mahirap na naman ang transportasyon.
To help the Puto Kalasyaw vendors whose stalls are located at the public market, the local government has stopped collecting rental and monthly electricity fees of the stalls. Meanwhile, in Pangasinan, many individuals were also affected by the downsizing of some companies. One of them is the Gupenya Joanna Braga, a flight attendant who is now selling fruits online. From visiting different countries on board the plane, Joanna delivers goods door-to-door on her motorcycle.
Sobrang unexpected po yun dahil nga day off ko noon and I have to go here, pauwi. Hindi ko in-expect na hindi na pala ako makakabalik. Hindi na ako makakalipad ulit sa Manila.
Despite this, her family still supports her new journey.
Marami pang paraan naman na babangon siya. Andito lang kami, sabi po namin sa kanya. Kasi po nga, hindi lang naman po siya yung affected. Halos lahat naman po.
This pandemic should be our motivation to do something meaningful with our family, to be fit and healthy, and also to be the help that our community needs.
In Ilocos Sur, the once lively streets of Vigan City are now quiet and empty. 69-year-old Modesto de Peralta, a coachman for 4 decades, lost his only source of livelihood due to the pandemic.
Nariga, labor, narigat pa ma'am. Ilad ko naman pa, kawanin na.
Mang Fabian, who was also a coachman, is a carpenter now.
Ang talagang mas mahirap ito ma'am kasi biro mo maghapon nanghirap ang init-init pa.
Ang hirap nga dito, nakasanayan sa mga kalesa, mga turista Walang pumapasok na turista so sana po na hindi sila magsawa na tumutulong sa amin para makabalik kami sa hanap buhay namin mga kutsara.
Joanne, while some already found other temporary sources of livelihood, workers hope that the government provide them alternative, permanent work as the pandemic continue to affect industries. Joanne?
Thank you, Ivy Hernando.
Amid the stress and uncertainties of the COVID-19 pandemic, many are trying to find ways to make their day-to-day life not only bearable but also interesting. Just like the viral Toko Toko challenge that has brought smiles to many netizens. Adrian Prietos has more.
Even in the most difficult of circumstances, Filipinos never run out of ideas to bring laughter and cheer to one another. For instance, the Toko Toko Wear That Heels challenge that has become viral online, providing much-needed comic relief. In Silay City, netizens lauded a video of Laura Beatriz Buenavista who sashayed his way along the muddy runway in the highlands of Silay wearing these golden heels. Exuding confidence while flouncing through the overflow, using various props and antics, Buenavista outrageously presented himself as more than just a challenger from the barrio. In Banate, Iloilo, makeup artist Kiao Malunda is spotted in a construction site somersaulting in heels.
Ginbaton ko ini nga challenge para biskan sa akon gamay nga pamaagi, akon ka mo mapalipay. Kinagapati ako nga laughter is the best medicine.
Later, he highlighted his challenge by scaling a coconut tree while still wearing those high heels. As a testament to Bacolod's moniker as the City of Smiles, a kagawad in Barangay Singkang Airport went all out in his preparations for the challenge. He even shaved his mustache and dolled himself up with makeup. In Pasay City, this teacher proved that he is not only effective in the classroom, but also a talented comedian. However, instead of heels, he wore slippers while modeling under the rain. In Kidapawan City, members of the LGBT community are slaying it, catwalking in the middle of Mega Market, wearing their gowns with sacks of rice as crowns on their heads like a queen. Some also pranced while pushing a trolley with sacks of rice, while others carried a native basket filled with onions. The group, composed of salon workers in the city, say they are only doing it for fun to take away the stress, having no customers during the pandemic. Aside from the market, they also use convenience stores, the overpass, and even the national highway as their runway. The challenge is not only comedy gold online, it also symbolizes our desire to move forward despite the difficult road ahead because of this global health pandemic. Together with cameraman Reynald Castillo, I'm Adrian Prietos for GMA Regional TV.
This is GMA Regional TV Weekend News. This is GMA Regional TV Weekend News.
Heavy rains caused floods and widespread damage in most parts of Mindanao. Argil Relator of GMA Regional TV 1 Mindanao for the details live. Argil.
CJ, hundreds of residents were affected after some rivers in Mindanao overflowed due to heavy and continuous rains. Heavy rains this week caused the Talomo River to overflow to nearby residential areas. Hundreds of residents were affected and immediately evacuated. The Davao City Urban Search and Rescue Team used a rubber boat to bring a 90-year-old mother and her daughter to a safe area after floodwaters breached their home. Affected families brought along their belongings and placed them along the bridge, while some residents secured their livestock.
Taas na kayong tubig dito?
Over 800 individuals were evacuated and temporarily housed at the Our Lady of Lourdes Parish in Bangkal, where social distancing was no longer observed. However, all evacuees were given face masks and food ration. Pag-asa reported that the heavy rains was a result of the trough of the low-pressure area. Meanwhile, in Barangay Ula, a 3-year-old boy drowned in a river. His body was found the day after he was last seen swimming with his brother. Meanwhile, a 57-year-old woman died in Bangkal, Davao City after a retaining wall collapsed into her room due to a landslide caused by the heavy downpour. The victim, identified as Leticia Forzas, was asleep when the incident happened.
Dako kayong bato na hulog. Pag tanaw na ko, wala na, tabunan na sila yuta.
Incidentally, ang portion atong retaining wall, na dito po yun sila na napili nila nga natulog, nag-overnight, unta, dito po nang collapse. So, accidentally, nagtapunan sila.
In Pagadian City, heavy rains caused a blackout, making it difficult for motorists to clearly see the highway. This caused a female rider to meet an accident when the motorcycle she was driving crashed into the center island in Rizal Avenue in Barangay Santa Lucia. In Kumalarang, Zamboanga del Sur, 15 hectares of rice field were affected when the Kumalarang River overflowed. The flood also breached many houses. The LGU is now assessing the cost of damage. In Maitom, Sarangani Province, more than 20 houses were affected due to flooding in Barangay Kiayap and Barangay Mabay. Affected residents were immediately evacuated. A landslide also occurred in Sitio Kalalang in Barangay Zion. Meanwhile, a farmer in Alabel, Sarangani, Leo Hele, died after a coconut tree in their backyard fell onto him. In Cotabato Province, motorists and pedestrians were stranded for almost 2 hours after trees fell along the highway and a minor landslide occurred along the boundary of President Roxas and Antipas towns. The Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office of President Roxas immediately conducted clearing operations. Street flooding also transpired in Midsayap town, where establishments along the highway experienced flash floods for the first time. CJ, as a tropical depression entering intensifies along with a low-pressure area, local government units here in Mindanao remain alert in monitoring areas that may be affected by these weather disturbances. CJ.
Thank you, Argil Relator.
OFWs from different provinces affected in Beirut, Lebanon explosion. Ivy Hernando files this report.
After the massive explosion in Beirut, Lebanon, 2 overseas Filipino workers were immediately reported as casualties. One victim was identified as Perlita Mendoza, 39 years old and resident of Barangay Carcarabasa, Lidlida, Ilocos Sur. Until now, her husband Giovanni still can't believe the tragedy.
Tinawag si Manila, ma'am, ang anak mo mamati nga Darius, ma'am. Magmaria din na ako, ma'am. Nagnaklapan mo,
Hours before the tragedy, Giovanni and wife was even able to talk over the phone.
pinma ng iso na tigas-tingat ranag.
Giovanni said that his wife's death coincides with the first death anniversary of their youngest child, who died from an illness last year. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration Regional Office 1 confirms that the family of Mendoza will receive assistance from the agency.
Nakakuha po yung kanyang pamilya ng 220,000 plus scholarship plus livelihood assistance para doon sa asawa.
The Sumakulov family in Buena Vista, Guimaras is also mourning for the death of their mother, Mila. The 65-years-old domestic helper is among the Filipinos who died in a deadly explosion in Beirut, Lebanon.
Una ma'am, syempre na-shock pa kami, tapos daw hindi kinamon mabaton kay daw ga bilin pagid sa amon nga paminsaron ang mga dreams ni mama, ang mga gusto ya matabo.
Mila works in the building near the center of the explosion. After the blast, her friends tried to find her after she went missing. She was later found in a hospital but was already dead. Mila was supposed to retire and return home to her family this December. The remains of Mila is scheduled to arrive in the Philippines tomorrow. An OFW from Dagupan City, Pangasinan is one of those affected by the blast. Jennifer Evasan lives near the place of incident.
Noong time po kasi nung nangyari yung explosion, nagsasampay po ako sa labas. Ang lapit ng talaga dito nung pinangyarihan, malapit lang po talaga dito sa place namin. Pero syempre hindi mawala yung tawad. Kasi hindi natin alam kung meron pang susunod na pagsabog.
OFW Emma Serra, another Pangasinense working in Lebanon, evacuated for safety. In her message to GMA Regional TV, she narrated the impact of the explosion and how they felt during the incident.
Gusto ko na po umuwi. Kaso sir, baka malabo. Kasi first is close pa yung international flight sa Lebanon.
According to OWA Region 1, they are still assessing the situation of the OFWs in Lebanon.
Usually, sir, ang una po naming ginagawa po is tinitrace po yung kapamilya. And then po, we establish communication with them. And depende na rin po, sir, doon sa sitwasyon po ng worker.
Authorities continue to probe the massive explosion in Beirut, which they said was triggered by ammonium nitrate stored in a warehouse for years. I am Ivy Hernando for GMA Regional TV.
Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, festivals in Davao City and Cagayan de Oro City will push through, although rather simply and with some adjustments. Cyril Chavez has the details.
In the past, by this time of the year, excitement is already mounting as Kadayawan Festival fever sets in. But that will not be the case as the city government decided to keep the celebrations simple due to the pandemic. According to Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, one of the activities this year is the Misa Pasasalamat to be held on Monday, marking the start of the festivities.
Ang ato ang August 10 will be the Thanksgiving Mass, Davao City Thanksgiving Mass celebration. And then August 17 ang ato ang flag ceremony for the celebration of our Indigenous Peoples Week and Kadayawan celebration.
The cancellation of major activities is in line with Executive Order Number 25 Series of 2020 issued last April 17, which declared a period of mourning and vigilance in Davao City from April 17 to December 31, 2020. During this period, all city and national government celebrations, parties, anniversaries, and festivities are cancelled. In Cagayan de Oro City, Mayor Oscar Moreno decided to push through with the Higalaay Festival so that Cagayanons will still feel the importance of the festival despite the pandemic. Among the activities mostly virtual are the celebration of the Feast of Senior San Agustin, the pontifical installation of Father Jose Cabantan as the new Archbishop of Cagayan de Oro, the Higalaay Photo Contest and Fluvial Parade, and the Miss Cagayan de Oro pageant. The city government reminds Cagayanons to observe and follow minimum public health standards during the festivities.
Ang akong kuan ani is let's endeavor to rebuild the city, rebuild our confidence. Pero di lang gid nato kalimtan ang atong public health.
Together with cameraman James Yap, I am Cyril Chavez for GMA Regional TV.
This is GMA Regional TV Weekend News. This is GMA Regional TV Weekend News.
Traffic congestion in major thoroughfares and people flocking the streets. These were some of the scenarios when Cebu City's quarantine status was downgraded to GCQ. We have Luan Mayrondina to give us the details live. Luan.
Yes, CJ, unlike in the previous weeks when the streets were almost empty, this time Cebu City experienced heavy traffic buildup since the downgrade to GCQ on August 1.
Aside from high volume of vehicles plying on the road in the city, there was also a traffic buildup due to checkpoints and borders where police are still checking for documents presented by motorists.
GCQ doesn't mean that they are free to roam around. Definitely, we are still in a quarantine period.
Numerous people were arrested for violating the quarantine protocols. Minors and senior citizens found outside their homes were among those apprehended.
Naninda mi sir. Lakban mi sa pulis. May tami magkaon ba? Ano bugas sa amo?
Nigabas ko kay mukha ko ato kong anak ngay ko kuan kanon tasukan kay lam mo kong gida kun kunara man ang amo dire lam kong gida nagabaan ra na sila dong ay.
Those arrested underwent lecture on health and safety protocols and were made to clean the surroundings of Plaza Independencia. While they were held for 12 hours, no penalties or fines were imposed. However, Cebu City Mayor Edgardo Labella has a warning for future violators.
As mandated under the local government code, sanctions or imprisonment should not exceed 1 year and fines should not exceed 5,000 pesos. And, so once that ordinance shall have been published by the City Council, then by then we can already impose imprisonment or fine.
Now that establishments are gradually opening, the lack of transportation is being felt by commuters. During peak hours, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., passengers have to wait for 30 minutes to get a ride. While numerous taxi cabs were seen on the roads, passengers prefer to wait for the bus or modernized PUJ for cheaper fare.
Mura kulang ra siguro man kay daghan mo kay mga tao. Oh, nya dili bay puno o dili bay dapat daghan ang sud. Limited ba?
The Cebu City Transportation Office admitted that there is limited public transportation.
LTFRB dayon ang uban sad wala pa pud ka kompleto sa ilahang mga requirements, so wanang jutay lang jud ang managan. Kulang jud ang atong public transport mana nga if maka-afford lang sa taxi kaya ang taxi may dagan karon.
And starting August 15, commuters will now be required to wear face shields aside from face masks. This requirement is contained in the memorandum circular issued by the Department of Transportation. Shipping and airline companies will also impose the no face shield, no ride policy.
CJ, the province of Cebu reopened its doors to tourists to revive the economy affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Unlike in the old days, no walk-in tourists will be allowed in all tourist destinations. Guests are required to pre-register through the centralized online portal created by the Cebu Provincial Tourism Task Force. CJ?
Thank you, Luan Mayrondina.
2 weeks from now, school year 2020 to 2021 will start. In Central Visayas, the bond paper mo module ko movement has been trending. Let's learn about this from Fe Marie Dumabok of GMA Regional TV, Balitang Bisdak.
On top of the online classes, some teachers admitted they foresee challenges in the modular learning to be implemented this school year, one of which is the supply of bond paper. Anticipating the need for bond paper, principals of some public schools in Central Visayas have prodded their teachers to solicit a bond paper from stakeholders. According to the Alliance of Concerned Teachers Region 7 Union President Antonio Lim, solicitation for bond paper usually happens in the provinces. With a modular method for each subject, a teacher would need to print 11 to 20 pages each, and this will be distributed to students on weekly basis. This means that if a teacher has 40 students in one class, She would need 3,500 to 6,400 pieces of bond paper every week.
Abang nga mga teachers, sila pa yun ang mo-prem. So sila pa yung mga sa bond paper, sila pa ang mo-prem sa mga modules. Dili gyud siya makaya labi na nga nagsigi og hakag o budget cut.
This is why the posts, bond paper mo, module ko, trended on social media. According to some teachers, the budget for maintenance and other operating expenses provided by DepEd isn't enough, and they can't pass this on to the parents, especially during the pandemic.
Dili man gyud siya dili gyud siya angayan i-official ang pag-open kay una dili gyud really ya kaduma ang mga parents o galisod ka.
DepEd Region 7 Director Celestiano Jimenez discouraged the teachers from soliciting.
But we discourage posting on Facebook, kay naman po mga other resources nga gihatag, no? Gikan sa central office, na imo gawasana, na pay imuuin, na pay local government units nga nagtabang. So in fact, some of the LGUs, sila galigid mo ning angkon sa tanang printing.
Together with cameraman Cleo for Lumayag, I am Famary Dumabok for GMA Regional TV.
A flower enthusiast in Alcala, Pangasinan turned her backyard into a flower paradise. Here's the report.
From a simple garden, flower enthusiast Josefina Bonquin of Barangay Ataunan, Alcala, Pangasinan turned her backyard into a greenhouse. There are now at least 200 varieties of bougainvilleas and other flowers in her greenhouse. Some of the varieties were even bought from Taiwan, Malaysia, India, and Australia.
Hindi ako makapaniwala na parang narating ko yung ganito kalaking garden, tsaka kasi talagang mahilig lang ako maghalaman.
From pollination, conditioning, grafting, to watering and sun exposure, Josefina tediously takes care of her plants. According to her, it takes 2 months for a bougainvillea to fully mature and a year for the flowers to bloom. This golden summer white bougainvillea, which Josefina has been growing for almost 3 years, is her most prized plant. If she would put a price on it, the flower will cost from 30 to 35,000 pesos.
Stress reliever siya. Tapos parang healthy talaga dahil syempre araw-araw na nalalanghap mo yung binubuga nilang oxygen, ganun.
Josefina is now experimenting with hand pollination to breed her own species of bougainvillea. Her childhood friend, Imelda, is helping her in taking care of the plants.
Kababata ko po siya, ma'am, na tumutulong sa akin. Nahilig na rin po ako, ma'am.
As time went by, people started buying Josefina's plants, with some coming from faraway towns to visit her greenhouse to see and buy her flowers.
Pinuntahan ko na siya mismo sa bayan nila. Ayun, nakita ko ang dami. Kaya, yan, hanggang ngayon, dire-diretso, eto, walang hinto. Sa kanya halos yung iba nang galing.
I am John Punsoy for GMA Regional TV.
This is GMA Regional TV Weekend News. This is GMA Regional TV Weekend News.
Eastern Visayas and Bicol top with highest percentage of enrollees. Rain Palino has this report.
CJ, the Department of Education ranked Eastern Visayas, covering the provinces of Biliran, Leyte, Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Southern Leyte, Ormoc, and Tacloban with the highest percentage of enrollees in the country with 88.6%. Meanwhile, Bicol ranked second with 88.2%. Data from the Department of Education, Bicol shows that 1,501,386 have enrolled in public schools and 79,899 in private schools this academic year 2020 to 2021. During the previous year, more than 1.7 million learners have enrolled. Among the 13 divisions in Bicol, Camarines Sur logged the highest number of enrollees in public schools while Iriga City ranked the lowest. Despite the challenges brought by the new normal, incoming grade 9 student Precious decided to continue her studies this year. She admitted that her parents even borrowed money in order to purchase a laptop which she will use.
Abo akong paklasan this year ngayon kasi si mama sabi, ma-enroll daw ako ulit sayang ang panahon.
Regional Director Gilbert Sadsad of DepEd Bicol discourages parents from letting their children skip the school year. He clarified that aside from online classes, there are other modes of learning such as radio-based instruction, video lessons, online synchronous and asynchronous, as well as homeschooling.
Ito ay napaka-challenging na sistema ng edukasyon natin. Hindi natin ito pinangarap, kaya talagang medyo mahirap, pero we are doing our best na kahit papaano ay may matutunan ang bata. At kapartner natin dito ang mga magulang. Kasi sila yung nandoon sa bahay o kaya ang kanilang mga kapatid na talagang mag-aalalay. And we are also developing the child to be independent.
Sadsad adds that the DepEd Central Office has recorded more than 400,000 students who transferred from private school into public school. One of them is Francia, who decided to transfer her daughter, who is an incoming 5th grader, from a private school into a public school after losing her job since the Luzon-wide lockdown.
Hindi ko kayang i-survive yung vision. Kaya sabi ko, nag-decide ko na ano ko na lang sa public.
Meanwhile, Bernadette transferred her son, who is an incoming 8th grader, into the Alternative Learning System or ALS.
Kung may pandemic kita, ako po siyang
In Region 1, DepEd revealed that there are already 16 private schools in the region that closed for this school year.
Itong 16 na ito ay na-divide po sa mga school subdivision offices. Doon po sa Batak ay meron pong isa. Then Dagupan City meron pong isa. Ilocos Sur isa rin. La Union may isa. Lawag City isa. Then sa Pangasinan po ang medyo marami. 7 na private schools yung nagsara. Then dito po sa San Fernando City ay may 3 at isa rin po sa Ordineta City.
One of the main reasons was a drop of number of enrollees. Because of the closures, many private school teachers were affected.
Talagang may malaking epekto ito sa amin, especially sa aming mga teachers kasi syempre yun yung means of living din namin na magturo.
Authorities expect a further increase in the number of enrollees in public schools this year. CJ here in Bicol, the DepEd is still finalizing the list of those private schools that closed. While some private schools have started with their academic year, enrollment is still ongoing as classes on public schools are set to open on August 24. CJ?
Thank you, Rain Palino.
As home quarantine gave people more time for their hobbies and leisures, many homeliners today became plant lovers, or plantitos and plantitas as they call themselves. Suddenly, demand for pots increased due to the growing numbers of plant enthusiasts. This pottery store in Barangay Tabuk, San Juan, La Union was flocked by plantitos and plantitas looking for containers for their greenery. According to Rosemary Fronda, a pottery business owner for 40 years, their pots became sought after when tending to plants became a hit on social media. Their prices range from 20 to 100 pesos depending on size and design.
A Mindanaoan displayed her singing prowess to the world by winning the World Championship of Performing Arts, or WICOPA. More in this report from Sarah Hilomen Velasco.
Mary Ashley Entrina, 16 years old, can proudly claim she conquered the world. She's the grand champion in the solo vocalist category of the World Championship of Performing Arts, or WICOPA.
If teardrops could be bottled, there'd be swimming pools filled by models.
Due to the pandemic, this year's Olympic-style talent event was done online, with thousands of entries coming from 60 countries. The pride of Kapatagan Lanao del Norte did not expect to win, especially with limited resources.
I wasn't expecting po na makadawat ko aning kadako nga blessing sa Ginoo.
The world champions advice to those who want to pursue their passion for music:
encourage everyone to continue their passion and practice it and have faith kay God and grab every opportunities nga maabot kay wata kabalo mo na ang para sa imuha, mo na ang gihatag sa Ginoo.
I am Sarah Hilomen Velasco for GMA Regional TV.
We would like to thank everyone from around the Philippines as well as our kapuso abroad for watching our episode.
You can watch this episode and more on GMA Regional TV's official website, www.gmaregionaltv.com, as well as our YouTube channel, GMA Regional TV. Just click the subscribe button to get the hottest news from the regions.
Thank you for joining us, and from all of us here in North and Central Luzon.
This has been GMA Regional TV Weekend News, where local news matters.
Stay safe, mga kapuso!